And away we go. We are back, guys. Another edition of Matchday Minus One. Feels like forever since we've been here at St. David's Performance Centre. Welcome back, everyone, ahead of Austin's penultimate regular season game of the year. Should tell you this is brought to you by PointsBet, founding partner of Austin FC. We are here at St. David's Performance Centre. We are Adrian, Healey and Michael Lahoud. We've just waved goodbye to the players on their way to Vancouver, Michael, and good to be back in the saddle.
Yeah, there's two songs that come to mind when I think of this penultimate game and last road game of the season. One is probably the soundtrack the players are listening to. It's If You Like Pina Colada. No, we were singing that. We were just had that song stuck in our head. But when I think of us being back on the show, it's reunited, and it feels so good.
It does. It does indeed. Just quick shout out for yesterday's announcement, by the way. I'm sure you saw it. Tickets on sale for home playoff game. Tickets on sale now to the general public. Methinks they will go a little fast, but there was also the announcement of Yeti giving away the 10,000 special edition playoff Ramblers at the match, and the gates opening 2 hours prior to kickoff, 30 minutes before usual. So it's nice, isn't it? Isn't it just a warm, glowy feeling knowing that whatever happens in these last two games, that is coming on the weekend of October the 15th.
A couple things have changed in the last couple weeks. Fall is in the air, and now playoffs are in the air. Playoff soccer, to be exact, for the Verde and Black. It's going to be such a festive atmosphere and special milestone moment for Austin FC.
So let's get into the home stretch. What is in front of the Verde and Black heading into these last two weeks of the regular season? Tomorrow at Vancouver, at BC Place in fantastic. In the fantastic city of Vancouver, and then next Sunday at home to Colorado. Of course, the team have been ticking off achievements completed. Playoff game, tick. Home playoff game, tick. Now, the final cherry on the cake will be clinching second spot in the Western Conference, which they can do, Michael, with just 1 point from either of these next two games. And in fact, there's a scenario where they may not even need a point by the time they kick off tomorrow, because Dallas play ahead of us against Colorado in Colorado, a game where they could easily drop points. If they do drop any points, we don't need any to clinch second place. And I don't know if that's really going to, of course, the players and the coaching staff will be watching that Dallas result, but to go in knowing you only need a point to clinch second, hey, good position to be in.
Wouldn't it just be just that little bit of extra for Dallas to drop those points, and for it to be local foes that don't get into the position that we want to be in? But this is all about Austin FC. You want to be in this sort of position where you're not dependent on other results. And we were laughing about it. What a difference a year makes with Josh Wolf. These are the luxuries that you're afforded when you take care of things, not just at home, but when you get results on the road. Yeah. And for Josh and his staff, they want to round it back out and really get in that vein of form that they started this whole journey this year with, which was by being good on the road and getting 3 points or one. We'll take whatever result we can, but he wants 3.
Yes, absolutely. Of course, the players coming into this on the back of a 2-week break, Michael, and very kind of weirdly timed international break in terms of the season as a whole, just coming 2 weeks before the end of the regular season. Same for all teams, mind you. And I think the players and the coaching staff telling us here today that they've used that time very constructively. Yes, they got some rest, but it also gave them a chance to kind of hit the reset button and refresh and just get back to some of the basics and look at what we've done this year and got us this far, and look at where we still can go as well.
This is where you want to be mentally and physically, but more than anything mentally, because the season as a whole is such a journey in itself. It is a marathon, not a sprint. There's different phases of it, and I think the staff has been so smart in breaking it down to what are we going to do to get to this point. This is a team that's had success when breaks come. Remember in the summer break, they had some road games, some massive opponents, got the result against LAFC, not as good of a result against LA Galaxy. The international window comes, and they just launch out of there and build momentum. Can they build momentum to finish out the regular season? and get ready for the bigger dance.
I'm glad you brought that up, Michael, because, by the way, where did they go? First game out of the international break last night. It was Canada, wasn't it? It was a little Montreal trip.
Yep.
And by the way, in retrospect, what a result that turns out to be, looking at what Montreal have kind of been the Austin of the Eastern Conference, haven't they? Very, very similar record. But so to go there, coming out of that break and win 1-0, leaves you feeling all warm and fuzzy about tomorrow, doesn't it?
Well, in that game, it looked like the Boston of the East, the Boston of Canada, with the weather, with the rain, and but the performance that the team had, it set up this combination of style and pragmatism. In the end, it's all about getting a result. It's all about being a result-oriented team, because when you get a result, you can always get stylistic points afterwards. Yeah. And that mental toughness that getting 3 points or finding ways to win or get a draw produces is something that you can't teach and only comes with experience over the course of a season.
For those wondering, why is second place so important? Well, not only does it guarantee you finish above Dallas, so big check mark there, but also guarantees you at least 2 playoff home games if you can win your first, because that's the way it's set out by MLS. LAFC will get the bye. Austin, if they can win first playoff home game, another against a winner from the first round, and then kind of hoping someone knocks off LAFC as well. But that's to come down the road. So it is a big deal to seal second spot, especially where you consider where we've come from, which was second bottom last year. To go from second bottom, second top will be one of the biggest jumps ever in the history of expansion teams in the league. So do you want to get into the specifics of tomorrow to start off this home stretch with the showdown?
Absolutely, it's time.
Vancouver. It sort of continues a theme, doesn't it? Our last couple of road trips have been against teams fighting and scrapping for their own playoff lives and points, and it's going to be inevitable at this stage of the season. That's who you run into as opponents, especially when you've put yourself already in a great place, which we have. But that's the reality tomorrow. Vancouver are going to be, whatever the next stage beyond desperate is, that's where they are, because they have zero margin for error. They have to win both of their last 2 remaining games and hope for a favor along the way as well from other teams.
This is where you want your opponent if you're Austin FC, because they're going to give you a game. They're going to fight for everything that they have, and it just makes the mentality portion of things, and the fact that the team came out of an international break of their own, the freshness, whichever team has the right mentality will get a positive result in this game. When you look at how Austin FC have fallen into this place, getting 4 points out of their last 2 games going into the break is massive for momentum. Yeah. It takes the pressure off of Austin. And now, can you be the team with that killer instinct that you've shown throughout the season to end seasons for other teams? That'll be extra motivation and fuel in the fire, because come playoff time, you will be ending the season for other teams. A little bit of a playoff experience that they'll have on their hands against Vancouver. It'll feel like a playoff game.
Interesting team to try and break down, aren't they? Because they're obviously not where they were last year. The Whitecaps, remember, the Whitecaps were in the playoffs last year. Actually surged towards the end of the year, didn't they, to finish in 5th spot. But you look at they got off to an awful start this year, and that, I think, has left them playing catch up. But they've still, at home particularly, where they've been pretty good, they've still beaten both LA teams at home. They've beaten Seattle at home. They've beaten Dallas at home. It's a tough place to go, BC Place, isn't it?
The surface is what makes it so tough. The environment, but mostly the surface. That turf, when you play on turf, there's different teams in the Pacific Northwest, and there's different ways the surf plays. In Portland, it's a bit of a slower, thicker surface, but in Seattle and Vancouver, no matter what you do with water or what you put on the surface, it still plays fast.
Right.
And that suits this Vancouver team that likes to run behind and get in behind the lines. They have some athletes, and they have a little bit of quality that's been injected through some of the MLS player movement mechanisms. And I think of players like Julian Gressel who have come in. Yeah. They've started to really lift this team in the attack.
Yeah. What, for you, Michael, are Austin going to have to do really well going there tomorrow to be able to get the result? We remember how they went and played there last year at BC Place and actually played fantastically for 45 minutes in that game. You might remember Sebastian Driussi got his first Austin goal up there. It was in ultimately a 2-1 defeat, which went south in the second half. We picked up a red card, but I think they actually kind of fancy playing on this surface. They actually, Josh Wolf called it the best turf field in the league. Interestingly, I didn't think it was supposedly that good, but
I didn't think so either.
Right.
But those are the little details that Josh is so clued in on and spotted about. We look back at the game against Atlanta where he had a glint in his eye and excitement playing on that surface.
Yeah.
One that Owen and his other son Tyler would be familiar with at the time, given their time there. But when I look at this Vancouver team and Austin's matchup, I think of two things: transition and also how they deal with staying compact. When they're Austin FC are compact, they're a very difficult team to break down. When they played Vancouver here last at Q2 Stadium, let's rewind the clock. They were getting good opportunities off being maybe 30 to 35 yards apart from front to back, and then springing when they had opportunities and getting in behind. For them, it's really going to be maybe getting around them out wide, because Vancouver tend to have a compact midfield, two lines of midfield four and back four.
Yeah, that game back in April was one of the, I mean, it was part of that sort of dominant start at home. But that 3-0 win at the end of April, I think they played really well in that game. They pressed them high up, forced turnovers. Maxi Arudi had himself a great game. Hey, if he starts tomorrow, I wouldn't bet a lot of money against him doing something similar. He seems to like playing the Whitecaps, doesn't he?
Well, that would, for those of you paying your attention to your PointsBet on point thing to look for, if Maxi Arudi does get the start, he's a player that I would expect to come alive. Talking with him and some of the other strikers, we have a couple strikers who have a good track record against Vancouver on the road.
Sebastian Driussi scored up there, as I mentioned last year, scored at home this season.
Danny Houston's had some key goals with San Jose in the past.
Yep, he has. So Driussi, still a couple of goals behind Mukhtar. We'll probably be looking at this as a fixture where perhaps he can make up a little bit of the ground, methinks.
So you're saying it's time for a Driussi hat trick. That's what you're feeling. The last game that Austin FC had against Nashville, what a response from the team. Yeah. What a response from the subs. Danny Pereira, Diego Fagundes, Alex Ring coming on to change the game. And credit and kudos to the starters. Johan Valencia, Johan Romagna, I thought had an excellent game. Those two limiting opportunities for Nashville and Mukhtar. Mukhtar, I'll be honest, I don't think that was a penalty.
Nope.
Was very fortunate, had a wry smile on his face, and that is the tell of all tells when a striker may have calmed the referee a bit in the penalty kick, but you still have to put it in. But credit, even bigger credit to Sebastian Driussi getting the response for his team and personally getting that response to tell Mukhtar it's not over yet. I think this MVP battle in terms of goals, just on goals, because I think Sebastian Driussi has made one of the strongest cases, if not the strongest case in the league for MVP. But it is going to go down to the very last kick of the ball against Colorado. Yeah. That's my opinion.
I like Driussi's chances of catching Mukhtar. You look at who now. Nashville have Houston at home this week, but then they have to go to LAFC next week. Us with Vancouver and Colorado. There's a couple of goals in these games for Driussi to make up the difference.
And he's already had proven success against Vancouver, both home and away. He'll be highly motivated. And watching Sebastian today, there was a look of focus in his eyes and almost like a prize fighter who has his head down, knowing what's at stake for team and personally. I think he'll get the job done.
Yeah. One more thing to perhaps one more box to tick with the game up there tomorrow. It's almost the final frontier for Austin FC is this Pacific Northwest region. We haven't gone up there and got a result yet. You think of our trips to Seattle, Portland, and Vancouver. The best result we've had was actually before Q2 Stadium opened that long ago. That 0-0 draw up in Seattle. That's the only time we've come back with a point from the Pacific Northwest. So I think that is another little carrot dangling there for them tomorrow. Can they go up to a place where it is tough to get results and bring home the right result tomorrow?
I think they're ripe for it because there's something that wasn't in those previous games, and it's something to play for. Where you have season implications on the line for one team, and there's a sense of pressure and impetus for the team to latch onto that may have not been there before. That 0-0 result against Seattle, Q2 coming on the horizon, that home opener was something they had to play for, and you could see how much it impacted them.
Yeah. All right. You've been waiting long enough for it. It is time that we reveal this week's Lahoud Mooch. I'm trying to guess where it. Coming off the break, it's always an interesting. Where's he going to go with the mood? Go on.
Well, somewhere in Austin, in the city of Austin, Cam Kubik is watching, and for Cam, this is the moment you've been waiting for. The Lahoud mood is ecstatic because the international break is done, and Austin FC are back, and the Verde and Black are going up north to play their penultimate and final away game of the regular season. You never know. Playoffs are looming. Right. And for Austin FC to continue that feeling of ecstatic, to leave me ecstatic about them getting 3 points, they have to do these 2 pre-mood things. You said it. You allude to it. Number 1, press. Where they start their press is going to be crucial. Last time out, they pressed Vancouver off the park and scored a goal off the press. Austin FC at their best is a team that is dynamic but also forces turnovers and is good in the second part, transition. Both teams rely on the transition. A good Austin FC on the road is a lethal team in transition. If they do those 2 pre-mood things, it'll lead for a good pregame show and a good result.
Excellent stuff. I love it. You can get the full edition of the Lahoud Mood, by the way, on our broadcast, which is on KBVO tomorrow. Let's just leave that little teaser dangling there and move on to a moment of gratitude, Michael. I'd love to finish each Matchday Minus One show with just spreading a little love around. And this figure we're going to recognize today is someone who deserves a lot of love. Preston Burpo, our goalkeeping coach, also our set-piece coach extraordinaire, turned, I can't believe I'm saying this, turned the big 5-0 this week. Birthday boy Burpo. And actually, let's make it a double birthday celebration because Felipe turns 32 today as well. Our 22 turns 32. 2 ages which seem impossible. I demand a recount in both cases.
I demand to know what they're drinking and what they're eating because I need those recipes for my livelihood and to look like Burpo does at the big 5-0. But Burpo, starting with him, he's a staff member and a guy that I got to know through the likes of a Jesse Marsh, very close friends with Preston and well-respected throughout the league. And what he's been able to transform, Brad Stuver, and the coaching he's been able to give to Brad in the goalkeeping core, but also set pieces. A big uptick in set-piece goals for Austin FC this season due to the focus and the detail-oriented nature of Preston and also Felipe. The Brazilian.
The evergreen.
The energy he's brought, the mentality shift, the experience, the list goes on, but just quality human being first and foremost and a winner. Yeah. And those are 2 things as a coach. You need those guys. Yeah. You need to invest in players like that. And I think one of the smartest signings of the season will prove to be Felipe with what he's done on and off the field with his team.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing on Burpo. Great taste in music. The man knows his music. He's a regular attendee of concerts in and around town, and really great guy to have around as part of the coaching staff. And you mentioned it, set pieces. I mean, the official and unofficial figures keep climbing for goals from set pieces, and Burpo plays a big part in that, doesn't he?
And you know what that sets things up for? Playoffs.
Yeah,
playoff games tend to be decided by set pieces, so something to keep an eye on. Final 2 weeks.
Wouldn't it be nice if this was the last road trip of the season for the team, full stop? Because for that to happen and for them to make a deep playoff run, that means home playoff games. We know we're almost guaranteed 2. A third would be very nice indeed, because that means LAFC would be out on the rear. But it could happen, couldn't it?
Mr. Healey, from your lips to Sebastian and the rest of the team's boots, and also every opposing team that we have to get results in our favor for. It's miraculous to see the turnaround and the fact that we're talking about these things, the fact that we have the luxury to set up playoff scenarios, and now it's time for the team to go out and execute.
Yeah.
The ability to execute in the final 2 games gives you momentum and belief going into the playoffs.
All right, we will be back in the saddle. Late start tomorrow. Actually, it's a joint latest kickoff time of the year. 9 p.m. local time kickoff. We will start at 8:30 with the pre-game show. I do believe we're on the KBVO channel Saturday night, so I hope you can join the 2 of us, Sonny Guadarrama, Roger Valdivieso, and then Austin versus Vancouver. Thanks for being with us here on Matchday Minus One, and we will talk to you tomorrow.